Do you ever sit there and feel you wish we were in a plural relationship? The question in my head is like, are we going to try for, to live plural marriage again?
He could sell the 2-acre piece he and Robyn on and the 5 acres.
There's a few things that I will fight for, and this is one of them.
I'm not trying to rip you off, Mary. That's all imagined in Janelle's head because Janelle feels like, oh, I got divorced, so I deserve something. So are you excited about this?
No, not at all.
Hey friends, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I have a feeling that Christine Brown might be getting ready to leave the series. Her new book announcement, the book's synopsis, and the trailer for the second half of season 19 all seem to hint that Christine and David could be exiting the show. I can't say for sure, and I'm not sure how big of a role she'll still have. But in the trailer that dropped in February, Christine's storyline wasn't shown at all. Her face didn't even appear until the very end, when she was asking Suki about Kody and Robyn's engagement and whether they were intimate before marriage. That was the only time she showed up in that preview. Some of the biggest moments this season, the ones that will likely grab the most attention, include Mary realizing that Robyn has been manipulating her. That's huge because Mary was completely fooled by Robyn for years. Then there's the ongoing battle over Coyote Pass, which is basically the last thing still tying them all together. Plus, Kody and Robyn are discussing bringing in more sister wives. What's really interesting is that they might not show this on the show, but there was a meeting with church leaders about possibly returning to their faith, maybe even starting a new branch of the AUB in Flagstaff and using Coyote Pass as their base. I'm not sure if they'll mention that on the show, but that meeting did happen. Kody actually suggested bringing the AUB down there, partly because Robyn never really wanted to leave the church. She was still open to plural marriage, and that discussion might be their way of making it seem more acceptable for the audience. Of course, the church leaders like Paul would never actually appear on camera. But imagine if they did. If Kody and Robyn sat there and were like, Paul, we're thinking about starting a branch of the church here. If we recommit, repent, and prove we're sorry, can we come back? And I need new wives because Robyn says she's going to leave me if I don't find her some. Can you imagine if that was actually on the show? The public would never accept it. So, they likely reworked the conversation, keeping it just between Kody and Robyn. But aside from those storylines, there's absolutely nothing about Christine. Nothing at all. I checked out Christine's new book, which comes out on September 2nd in hardcover. The cover now features a photo of Christine wearing red, which is interesting because Warren Jeffs absolutely despised that color. I'm not sure if the AUB had any rules about wearing red, but it's definitely an eye-catching choice. Plus, her Aunt Kristen's book also features her in red on the cover. The synopsis describes it as a powerful and heartfelt memoir about living in a family like no other and finding the strength to leave polygamy, the only life she had ever known. It says, Christine always dreamed of a picture-perfect family with beautiful children, a loving husband, and, of course, a sisterhood of wives to share him with. Growing up in Utah in a polygamist household, Christine knew her life was far from normal, but that never stopped her from loving the busy, full house of her childhood. When she became Kody Brown's third wife in 1994, she thought she had finally found the big, happy family she had always wanted. When Sister Wives premiered on TLC in 2010, Christine saw it as her chance to showcase the positive side of polygamy, the support system, the lively discussions, and the deep devotion they all had for one another. But the cameras also exposed a much darker reality. Now, in this candid tell-all, Christine shares her journey of walking away from polygamy and the bold new life she's building outside of everything she once knew. Honest, insightful, and deeply personal, this book is a powerful account of Christine's journey through and beyond her time as a sister wife. Interestingly, the first version of the synopsis didn't even mention polygamy. It focused on her leaving the Mormon church. But now, this version highlights her departure from polygamy and how she's creating a future on her own. Some were only looking out for themselves. Kody had admitted years ago that bringing cameras into their lives gave his wives a voice they had never had before. It allowed them to openly express their jealousy, insecurities, and frustrations. They could finally talk about and compare their relationships in ways they hadn't been able to before. When you get to see everything from a full, all-encompassing perspective, it's hard to sit back and pretend to be happy while getting only the bare minimum from Kody. That's part of the dark truth, the realization that he was doing things with other wives that he wasn't doing with Christine. Then there were the issues with money and time, especially with him spending nearly all his time with Robyn. Moving to Las Vegas also exposed Christine to a whole new way of living. In a recent podcast, she even said that the move completely changed her life and perspective. Before that, she had spent most of her life in a closed-off community surrounded by people from her church. Some were only looking out for themselves. Kody had said years ago that having cameras around gave his wives a voice they had never had before. For the first time, they could openly talk about their jealousy, insecurities, and frustrations. They could compare their relationships and finally see the full picture. When you're able to step back and view everything from a wider perspective, it becomes almost impossible to pretend you're happy while settling for whatever little attention Kody decides to give. That's part of the dark truth, the realization that he was doing things with other wives that he wasn't doing with Christine. There were also issues with money and time, especially with him spending nearly all his time with Robyn. Moving to Las Vegas opened Christine's eyes to an entirely new way of living. In a recent podcast, she even called the move a game changer for her life and outlook. Before that, she had lived in a closed-off community where most people were from her church. These communities were designed to keep church members together, limiting outside influence. Since her entire social life revolved around polygamy, she had been taught that outsiders were dangerous and should be avoided. But after moving to Las Vegas, she was exposed to different people, ideas, and ways of life. Now, and it's going to be that separation ChatGPT said, she soon realized that the people she had been taught to fear weren't actually scary at all. The world outside her small Utah community had used fear to control her, not the truth. That's when she started questioning everything. She thought, wait a minute, they told me these people were dangerous, bad, even wicked, but now I see that's not true. These are good people. She recently spoke about this on a podcast with Janelle, reflecting on how her perspective shifted. When she and Kody started having problems after Robyn joined the family, she had more time to explore the world, and that experience completely changed her outlook. Her book will likely dive into these realizations, but for any book deal to happen, there has to be a compelling story. Publishers won't invest unless she reveals things she hasn't shared before. This can't just be a recap of what we've already seen on the show. She'll have to share new, personal details, much like Becoming Sister Wives, where they discuss their courtships with Kody, their weddings, and their early homes, none of which was fully shown in the first seasons. If her book just repeats old stories, why would anyone buy it? Since it's set to release in September, the season will likely be over by then. While she may not necessarily become a full-time author, this book feels like her way of breaking away from her old life and fully embracing the new one. At this point, Christine is making it clear she is no longer part of polygamy. And if you've left polygamy, being on a show about polygamy doesn't exactly help you move forward. The key line in her book's synopsis says it all: her journey toward and beyond her time in the spotlight as a sister wife. Christine wants to be known for something more than just being a sister wife. She no longer wants to be defined by her past with Kody or the plural marriage lifestyle. That was her old life, but it's not who she is today. When you're focused on moving forward with a new husband, getting custody settled for your daughter, and making sure your ex is paying child support, staying on the show doesn't make much sense. All of this points to Christine slowly stepping away, and it might be a sign for fans that the show itself is nearing its end. It's hard to imagine it lasting much longer. The whole reason people tuned in was to get a glimpse into a man with 4 wives. They wanted to see how it worked, whether it was anything like Warren Jeff's group, and if the wives were controlled. They were curious. Were the kids being raised in an ultra-strict religious home? Were the wives forced into submission? Was there jealousy and conflict? That curiosity is what kept people watching. Without that core element, the show just doesn't work. Kody and Robyn on their own aren't interesting enough to carry it. If they become the main focus, the show won't last. That's probably why there's been so much talk about whether they'll add more wives. It's because the entire premise of the show is built on the idea of a man with multiple wives. If Kody and Robyn don't expand the family, the show will have to end. None of the other women want to remain under Kody's control, and without that polygamous dynamic, there's nothing left to keep it going. Kody has always used the show to keep tabs on his wives, watching their actions, tracking them through footage, and even asking producers about who they're spending time with. But now, the family is completely scattered. Janelle is in North Carolina, Mary is in southern Utah, Christine is in northern Utah, and Kody and Robyn are in Arizona. Their kids are spread out across the country, some in North Carolina, some in Utah, others in Colorado, Nevada, and Arizona. This isn't a united family anymore. At best, there are small pockets of connection, but the big interconnected family they once had no longer exists. Christine is likely releasing this book now because she knows she can't stay on the show while also writing about her journey out of polygamy. It would be contradictory. How can you claim to have moved on while still participating in a show centered around polygamy? At some point, she has to make a clean break. And what better way to do that than with a book deal? She'll make money, have residual income, and invest in rental properties like the Airbnb she's already managing. Plus, David has a job and she's built a strong social media presence. She doesn't need this show anymore. She's ready to move forward. That's just my take, but I think we'll start seeing more signs that she's officially stepping away. What do you think? Is Christine about to leave for good? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching. See you next time.